Alright, the Avengers hat, oh, wrong side, is back. So that means it is time to talk about War for Wakanda. I just published my kind of big review on this, but I figured I'd do a video because this is the biggest thing to happen in Avengers since launch, by a pretty good margin. War for Wakanda arrived yesterday. It is the new free expansion for the game. No, you do not need to have like grinded anything in Avengers to play it. All of this stuff they add post-launch is like standalone in the sense where every time they introduce a new character, that character just starts at like level 1, gear score 1. So for this, you will start as Black Panther at level 1 and have to level him up 250. I am at 46, 47, something like that. So I am almost done maxing all his skills. And then there's the long climb to gear score 150. I'm at like 108. So I'm getting there, just grinding interminably, but I'll get to that in a minute. I very much like this expansion. I think this is kind of the first true realization of what Crystal Dynamics was kind of envisioning when they pitched us on like a live evolving Avengers game. Avengers as Service has kind of turned a lot of people off because it just doesn't seem like it really lends itself to that. But in brief moments like this one, you can kind of see what they were going for when we were talking about like a really substantive content edition with a brand new zone, brand new hero, new story stuff. The problem is just that it took a year to get this expansion, and no, it is not like kind of the yearly, like the size of a yearly expansion you'd see from like, you know, Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls or Destiny Taken King or Forsaken or things like that. It is not at that scale, probably because it's free, and yet it is this game's best edition yet. Wakanda is definitely the best zone they've done so far. It is gorgeous. It is richly detailed. I'm continually impressed with like kind of the amount of work they put into it in terms of just, you know, they redesigned everything possible for it. They have, you know, new turret designs, new crate designs, new chest designs, a new transportation system, all new environments. We no longer have any copy-pasted aim rooms. All the new kind of rooms and things you encounter in boss spaces and whatever are entirely unique to Wakanda. There is no copy-pasting there. The new base, even though we don't need a fourth base at this point, that's kind of pointless, is definitely the best looking base they come up with and kind of the richest in terms of kind of listening to people and all 8 Avengers being there that you can talk to. Everybody has new voice lines talking about Wakanda and stuff, so they've gotten the full cast together for that. Just, you know, you walk through the hallways as T'Challa and people do the Black Panther salute to you, which is really cool. If you're like someone else, if you're Captain America or something, they just kind of like tap their spear to like acknowledge you. Just details like that I think are really cool. Story campaign, good voice work from Christopher Judge. I think he did a great job as T'Challa, you know, given the shoes he is stepping into. I think he did his own take. Some people seem kind of split on him, but I think he did a really good job. Shuri's in this, Okay's in this. There are a good amount of, you know, Wakandan characters here. And then they also have, again, old Avengers like Captain America and Tony Stark are kind of the two main people who keep showing up in story cutscenes and things. But again, everybody has kind of lines relating to Wakanda. They worked really hard to make this not like the Avengers are coming to save Wakanda. It's more like T'Challa is like, yeah, all right, I guess I'll help you guys defeat the guys that are invading my country because like you screwed this up. So they give him a lot of agency, which is cool. I do not envy their job in terms of like having to craft a story that is this short. They kind of rewrote Claw's origin story where it's about like his father and his past with Wakanda, and like I guess I won't spoil it, but it's you know, it gives him some dimension in terms of, you know, it's just introducing a villain that has at least some connection to what we're talking about here. In terms of moving the overall story forward with Monica and stuff, like Monica's a cameo at some point, but the general overall story of this is still kind of nebulous. Like the ultimate goal of Avengers right now is we are preparing for a Kree invasion, the alien invading race, and we are trying to stop them from wiping out the planet. If you have missed that, I would not blame you because it is not something that is made abundantly clear unless you pay really close attention to the story or have played it recently, and it has now been a year since launch, so if you didn't really connect those dots, I get it. That would be year 2 content, which we do not necessarily know if that is coming or not. I assume that the big Kree Invasion DLC would kind of be like something we'd see a year from today or something like that, where it would be another major expansion. We'll see what happens with the future of this, but for starters, Wakanda is very solid. Black Panther himself, I'm finding, is a lot of fun. They've done a really excellent job here. Kind of, they've used a lot of his moves from the movies, the like triple kick thing, the kinetic slam down. They have kind of invented new things he can do, like at least that we haven't seen in the movies, like summoning vibranium knives and throwing them, or vibranium spears. His range attacks actually feel really good, and I like that he's almost a support character, where he provides like the knives. If you stick in them, it increases all melee damage done to whatever you have stuck, whatever character you've stuck for X amount of time, so you can kind of really burst on enemies if your teammates are wailing on someone. So he's useful for that. There's a lot of like kind of, you can mass revive your team with your ultimate. His powers are extremely cool. In one power, you can both summon a Panther God, which drives over people, which gives you a defensive buff, and there's a mod for that where you can summon 2 Wakandan Spectral Warriors to fight by you. And the new artifact for War for Wakanda is something beads, and you activate it to summon Okai, who will fight with you with a spear. And it's not like she just shows up and like pokes someone with a spear and leaves. She's like there for, I don't know, at least 30 seconds. Like she's like running around as an actual character, which is cool. So between her and the Spectral Warriors and your team, like you're almost like a summoner class to a certain extent. I'm less super jazzed about the new enemy types, although I may just not be geared enough for them yet. So there's 2 enemy types that use like different new elements, where they get like this corrupted vibranium shield, which is like an even more obnoxious version of the normal overshield people get, because it's not something you can break. It's just kind of on them all the time. I think there are ways you can deactivate that with certain perks and stuff. I think vibranium might deactivate it. And then the even more annoying one is Sonic, because if you get hit by like a Sonic blast, it'll like blur out your whole screen for like this crazy, disoriented effect, and it lasts a really long time. Like I'm pretty sure the entire final battle against Claw, like it is actually a pretty good fight, and yet like I was just blinded by this stupid Sonic disruption thing forever. And like again, I'm sure you can get armor perks where it's like reduce Sonic disruption or whatever, but for now I did find that rather annoying. Crossbones and Claw, in terms of actual fighting, they were good fights. Crossbones is like a little bit bullet spongy, I guess, but he's a little more dynamic than, like Abomination or something, so he's an okay addition. The final Claw fight was actually pretty cool. I did enjoy that. I haven't played like villain sector formats of this yet, but at least in the campaign, it certainly worked out well, and I appreciated that. The problem is when the campaign ends and you are now just back to the Avengers Endgame, which it's not non-existent, it's just not very good. So the campaign is only about 2.5, 3 hours if you're just kind of going through it. And a lot of that is spent kind of walking around talking to people at base. I'm not expecting anything super, super long. It is kind of a bummer that like that length is almost as long as the Clint stuff, or it's about as long as the Clint and Kate stuff, and yet it's bigger because we have Wakanda, but the actual length of the story campaign here is about that size, and it's not very long. After that, you get, you're not fully leveled on T'Challa, and you have to figure out a way to grind up to max level to like really kind of build yourself out, and that involves just like rerunning the same hives and vaults and whatever you've been doing for the past year. There are some new kind of Wakandan things like drop zones and threat sectors and things, but like it's just kind of disassembled versions of the campaign stuff, and a lot of those, like some of those will only drop you ISOs, like drop zones only drop ISOs, so unless you're looking for only that, you're better off kind of doing things like hives. Like hives will give you a bunch of XP at the end of every encounter, which go really fast, so that's a good way to level. Threat sectors less so. There are not really any major changes to how gear works in this game, and that has been the most underwhelming part of Avengers so far. And like they've added some new perks and there are these new elements and stuff, and like I guess I got to get to the full end game and check out all the kits, but I maintain that like gear in this game is not inherently fun to chase. Some of it seems kind of baked in at this point, like no gear cosmetically appears in your character at all. That is not going to change at this point. It's almost impossible for it to, and yet that is kind of a really core mechanic in all loot-based games. So that goes to the kind of core of Avengers as a concept, but it still doesn't feel great after all this time. In terms of actually like getting drops that feel good, like the farming loop in this game is really weird. It is based on like a very select set of activities that reset, and you have 9 characters now, and yet a lot of these activities you can only run once on your whole account. So you have to like pick who gets exotics that week. This month they're doing it so every 2 days there's a reset instead of every week. So it's a little better, but like that's still, you should be able to run these at least once a character. Like I don't understand why you can't do that. The ultimate endgame thing, like I can breeze through every bit of content in this game at the hardest difficulty, except the final boss of the Omega level threat, which relies entirely on you kind of having a remotely competent team to join you, and also you gearing yourself in really, really specific ways to kind of try and burst the boss down before he overwhelms you. So I'm hoping that the Omega level threat that is coming to Wakanda is not going to be like that, because the difficulty jump there is very annoying, and then to have people quit during the boss phase and then the whole thing is moot. Like, I gave up on that. It wasn't worth it to me, so I just let it pass me by. In terms of the longer term future of this, I don't know. I know it's that they are definitely going to release Spider-Man. They have to do that. That is supposed to be this year. They have other stuff on deck they've already talked about, like the Omega level threat and Wasteland Patrol mode, which they delayed a little bit. But we do not have an official green light, as far as I know, for year 2 content. Fundamentally, like, the strengths and weaknesses of War for Wakanda are the strengths and weaknesses of the original game, and not really much has changed. Like, Avengers still doesn't really work well as a looter, as a live service game, as something you want to keep grinding, and there's all this stuff to chase. I don't think it really works on that level in a lot of ways, and that needs the most help. But it does really work in terms of like, hey, it is really fun to play as these Marvel heroes, and this is like an actually pretty good campaign. They do a great job with that stuff, and Wakanda is definitely the best zone. Maybe the base story campaign's a little better, but just because they had more time to tell it, I think Kamala's story is better, but this is pretty good given the restraints they had. So, like, overall, like, if you own the game, there's no reason to not at least go do the campaign. It's free. You can be level 1. You don't need to catch up. People always ask me, like, would you buy Avengers on sale for $20? Like, yes, I would buy it for $20. There's more than enough content to get $20 worth out of this game. So, well, I don't think it works as a long-term looter, as I say, as I'm playing it a year later. Then that needs the most work. I do think that there is something here, and I do hope that they are greenlit for year 2 content, because there's all these like little tiny dialogue teases about like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch and Loki and other potential heroes that we could see coming to the game later. And they've already been, there's data mining for them potentially working on She-Hulk and Winter Soldier. And like, we don't know which of these are going to kind of manifest after Spider-Man, but we need like, the game needs to succeed with Wakanda to a certain level, probably to get the approval to do more content, because this game cannot be cheap to develop. And it is also being run by Square Enix, which I really don't trust the judgment of Square Enix these days, who seems to have every game possible miss expectations, and I don't know. I don't know if Square Enix is the best kind of overlord of this thing, so we'll see what happens. I tried to be cool and shut my doors so I could not have it be messy, and now my PS5 is overheating, so I better go. But I just like having something on the screen. What can I say? So, in short, yeah, I'd play it. No, the endgame is not fixed, and we'll see what happens next. So, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.